सहनाववतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्ति। सदाशिवसमारम्भां शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्परां। श्रुतिस्मृतिपुराणानाम् आलयं करुणालयं नमामि भगवत्पाद शङ्करं लोकशङ्करं। शङ्करं शङ्कराचार्यं केशवं बादरायणं सूत्रभाष्यकृतौ वन्दे भगवन्तौ पुनः पुनः। वासुदेवेन्द्रयोगीन्द्रं नत्वा ज्ञानप्रदं गुरुं मुमुक्षूणां हितार्थाय तत्त्वबोधोऽभिधीयते। So after dealing with adhikari vichara and vyashti vichara, qualifications necessary, the fourfold qualifications necessary in order to apply the methodology of inquiry into the truth. After having explained in detail the fourfold qualifications for the seeker, and after having explained the truth related to the individual, what is Atma and what is not Atma with respect to individual, which is Vyashti Vichara. Now we are into Srishti Vichara, about the creation, how this creation came into being. So for any creation, there has to be an Upadana Karana and there has to be a Nimitta Karana. What is the material cause? So the material cause is Sattva Rajas Tamo Gunatmika Maya, which evolves. And what is the Nimitta Karana or the efficient cause? It is Brahman. Brahmashraya Sattva Rajas Tamo Gunatmika Maya Asti. So we can say the father principle is Brahman and the mother principle is Maya. What is Brahman? Sat Chit Ananda. It is the Satya Vastu. And what is this Maya? It is inert matter principle. Now, the job, the whole creation has to happen in Maya alone. In Brahman, nothing can happen. Just like the father and the mother. Once the father has provided the seed, the father's job is over. Then the entire creation, evolution has to happen in mother. In the same way, Brahman has given existence. Now taking this existence, Maya now creates. So Maya has Sattva, Rajas, Tamas. Now from this, when the creation begins, what is the first thing which is created? Tataha Akashaha Sambhutaha. The first thing which creates is Akasha, space. Now we are talking of Sukshma Akasha. From space what comes? Vayu, air. From Vayu, Agni. From Agni, Jala. From Jala, Prithvi. Yes. Now remember, all these elements, when they come into existence, they inherit the properties of their ancestors and add their own property also. So Akasha will have the property of That is, sound is its own property. It has inherited the property from Maya. What are the three? Sattva, Rajas, Tamas. Then Vayu, when it comes into existence, it will inherit the property of Maya as well as Akasha, and then it will add its own property. What is its own property? Sparsha. Similarly, the other five. So now, after this Sukshma Pancha Mahabhutas have been created, what is the next? Now, the Sukshma Jnanendriyas have to be created. Jnanendriyas are Sukshma only. So, from the Sattvika Amsha of Sattvic aspect of Akasha, what comes into being? Shrotrendriyam, the ears, the organ of hearing. Because the property of Akasha is sound. So, organ which can appreciate sound, which can grasp sound. In the same way, other five. So, once this Pancha Jnanendriyas are formed, from the Samashti Pancha, what you call Samashti Sattvika Amsha of the five elements, what comes into being? The inner equipment, Antakarana. Because it is the inner equipment which has to coordinate different activities of the organs of knowledge. So it has four functional aspects. What are they? Mind, Mana, Buddhi, Chitta, Ahankara. All those four have been mentioned. Now after that, from the Rajasic aspect of the Pancha Mahabhutas, Sukshma Mahabhutas, what comes into being? From the Rajasic aspect, Karmendriyas come into being. So what are the Karmendriyas? Vak, Pani, Payu, Pada, Upastha. 5. From the Samashti Amsha, or from the collective Rajasic aspect of the five elements, what has to come? Pancha Pranas have to come, because it is the Pancha Prana which gives energy to the all organs of action. This much we have seen. Now you can see in page number 90 of the new book, entire thing has been summarized into tabular column. Page number 90. So you will find element, space, sense object. What is the corresponding sense object? Corresponding organ of perception. For example, if it is space, then sense object is sound. The Jnanendriya is the ears. The deity of ears, it is Digdevata, space. Its function is hearing. Then the organ of action born out of it is tongue. The corresponding deity is fire. Function is speech. The whole thing has been put in a tabular column. Right. So we have seen from the Sattvic aspect, Jnanendriyas are born. From the Rajasic aspect, Karmendriyas are born. Now from the Tamasic aspect, what is going to be born? The Sthula Pancha Mahabhutas are going to be born. So from the Sukshma Pancha Mahabhutas, how Sthula Pancha Mahabhutas have to be created? This process is called Panchikaranam. That description is given here. Panchikaranam katham iti chet etesham panchamahabhutanam amasamsha swarupam ekamekam bhutam dvidha vibhajya ekamekam prithak तूष्णीं व्यवस्थाप्य अपरमपरमर्धं चतुर्धा विभज्य स्वार्धमन्येषु अर्धेषु स्वभागचतुष्टय संयोजनं कार्यं तदा पंचीकरणं भवति एतेभ्यः पंचीकृत पंचमहाभूतेभ्यः स्थूलशरीरं भवति. Sanskrit appeared to be very difficult, but the concept is very simple. What is Panchikaranam? Now, how the gross five elements are born out of subtle five elements? This is the process. Subtle five elements are called Tanmatras. Tanmatra means Tat Matra. Means in its most purified form. So, Sukshma Akasha will mean only Akasha present. Sukshma Vayu will mean only Vayu. So, like that. So now what is going to happen? In creation, a process called Panchikaranam happens. What is Panchikaranam? In this process, one element becomes divided into two. So 50%, 50%. The first 50% is kept intact. The second 50% is again divided into 4. So how much percent? 12.5%. 12.5, 12.5, 12.5, 12.5. And then each part gets added into the other 4 part. 4 are there. So these 4 will get added into the other 4. So for example, let us take space. So first 50%. So 50% space, another 50% space. Now the second 50% space is again divided into 4. The first 12.5% will go and get added with Vayu. Another 12.4 will go and get added with Agni. Third 12.5 will get added with Jala. Fourth 12.5% goes and get added with Prithvi. In the same way, all the 5 elements. So ultimately, what will remain? In each element, 50% of itself and 12.5% of all others. So for example, in Prithvi, you will have 50% Prithvi, 12.5% Akasha, 12.5% Vayu, 12.5% Agni, and 12.5% Jala. This is called Panchikaranam. Now it has become gross. So what it means is, the space which we are seeing is not pure space. It has the elements of other 4. The earth which you are seeing, it is not pure earth. It has all the other 4 elements. For example, in the earth, you will find water, you will find fire aspect, you will find Vayu aspect, and you will also find space. Similarly, all the 5 elements will have all others also get added. It is something like 5 friends. So one has brought rice, the other has brought upma, the third one has brought, say, sambar, the fourth one has brought, say, chapati or whatever. Now all of them have sat together. So now they will share food, because eating one's own thing is not very tasty. So better you share. So whatever others have, that will come. So the rice person, he has divided 50-50. The second part he has divided into 4, and he shares with other 4. In the same way, the third person, fourth person, etc. This is a very simple concept. It is called as Panchikaranam. Now you may ask, what is the proof? Vedas are the proof. Full stop. Alaukika Vishaye Vedaha Pramanam. These are Alaukika Vishaya. It can never be known through the senses, because sense organs come very, very, very late. Right? Gross thing cannot grasp the subtle. So if you see, no, only if it is proved, then only I will believe. Nonsense. All your intellect, your eyes, ears, etc. have come very, very late. So therefore, these things cannot be proved. These things have to be revealed by the ultimate source of knowledge, that is Vedas alone. Right. So this is Panchikaranam. Now let us see what the Sanskrit words are. It is the same thing which is described. Etesham Panchamahabhutanam. So these 5 elements. Tamasamsha Swarupam. Remember, we are using only the tamasic aspect. So when it is said that the space is divided to 50%, what is divided into 50%? Tamasic aspect of the particular element. So Tamasamsha Rupam Ekam Bhutam Dvidha Vibhajya. So each element gets divided into Dvidha, 50-50%. Dvidha Vibhajya Ekam Ardham Prathak Tushnim Vyavasthapya. Keeping 150% intact. Tushnim Vyavasthapya means keeping it intact. Then Aparam Ardham Chaturdha Vibhajya. The other 50% getting divided into Chaturdha 4 times. 4. Swardham Anyeshu Ardheshu Swabhaga Chatushtaya Sanyojanam Karyam. So, Swabhaga Chatushtaya, the 1/4, Anyeshu Ardheshu Swabhava Chatushtaya, the 1/4 of the other half gets added into Swardham. This intact 50%. This Sanyojanam, this joining is what has happened. Okay. Ultimately, whatever I explained, that's all. So, 50% of the element, 12.5% of other elements. So, tada panchikaranam bhavati. Thus, panchikaranam happens. And then what happens? Etebhya panchikrita panchamaha bhutebhya. From this is called as panchikrita panchamaha bhutas. What is panchikrita? Panchikrita means that which has undergone panchikaranam is called panchikrita. So now we have panchikrita panchamaha bhutas. The 5 elements, gross elements, which has undergone panchikaranam, which has undergone grossification. Right? From this grossified 5 elements, sthula shariram bhavati. The sthula shariram, the physical body, comes into existence. Now, let us go back. In the sthula shariram definition, what is the first term used? Panchikrita panchamaha bhuteihi kritam sat karma janyam. Remember? Sthula shariram kim. So, what is the term used? Panchikrita panchamaha bhuteihi kritam. So, there panchikrita, at that time I had told you, there is a process called panchikaran, which I will explain later. So, this is that panchikrita. This is the panchikaranam. What about sukshma shariram? Panchikrita or apanchikrita? Apanchikrita. Apanchikrita panchamaha bhutehi kritam. Sukshma sharira is born out of subtle 5 elements, not gross. Sthula shariram is born out of gross 5 elements. Sukshma sharira is born out of subtle 5 elements. Right. Now, a great secret is revealed. Why all this discussion? Evam pinda brahmandayoraikyam sambhutam. Yes, in this way, there is an aikyam, there is oneness between pinda and brahmanda. Pinda is also called as pindanda, microcosm, brahmanda, macrocosm. So there is a oneness between microcosm and macrocosm. So what is the oneness? Both of them have come from Maya. Correct? Now what do you mean by microcosm? The individual. So there is something called sthula sharira of the individual, sukshma sharira of the individual, karana sharira of the individual. There is something called sukshma prapancha of the total, karana prapancha of the total, and sthula prapancha of the total, which is called as microcosm. So whatever has happened in the microcosm, the same thing happens in the macrocosmic level also. So what do you find about microcosm, the individual? This is born out of sattva, rajas, tamas. In the same way, the whole totality, the whole creation also is born out of sattva, rajas, tamas. The individual body is made up of Atma and Anatma. The total cosmos also has Brahman and Maya, Atma, Anatma. The individual body is made up of 5 elements. The total cosmos also is made up of 5 elements. See, there is aikyam. Aikyam doesn't mean oneness, means individual equal to total. Not quantity wise, it is quality wise. Quantity wise, Brahmanda is infinite, Pindanda is finite. So we are not talking of quantity wise, we are talking of quality wise. Qualitatively, there is oneness. This Pindanda is a part of Brahmanda. Microcosm is a part of macrocosm. Right? To put this line, the whole description has been given. So where have I come from? This physical body. At the Vyavaharika level we are talking of now. Vyavaharika level means transactional level. Whatever I have, it has come from macrocosm. Can I have independent existence other than macrocosm? No. Microcosm cannot exist without the help of macrocosm. All microcosms put together is macrocosm. Now, an important point to be discussed here. What is the practical significance of this knowledge? The practical significance is you come to know how the part has to behave when it functions in the whole. What is the role of the part when it functions as a part of the whole? So microcosm is the part, macrocosm is the whole. Now look at your own body. Let us start from an example. This body has got so many parts, isn't it? So many parts of the body together make it one whole body. Now why is this body so healthy and functioning so well? It is because individual part is functioning well. With what attitude? Now if you see in your own body, every part is doing its duty perfectly, whether it is eyes, ears, hands, legs, etc. Each and every part is doing its job perfectly well, at the same time keeping the bigger picture in mind. What is the bigger picture? The whole body should be healthy. The whole body should be safe. This is the bigger picture. It is not each and every individual part is acting selfishly. No, there is a selfless attitude. There is an attitude of cooperation. There is harmony there. There is a rhythm in which every limb of the body is functioning. This is the most important thing which we must learn. For example, eyes. It is doing its own job very well. It is not trying to interfere with the ears or other limbs. No, it will do only its own job. But what is the bigger picture in mind? The whole body should be safe. So whenever some pleasurable thing is there, the eyes are there. But the moment the body's security comes under threat, safety comes under threat, immediately the eyes get withdrawn from the pleasurable object, and then it starts paying attention to the object which creates threat for the body, isn't it? Because the body's safety is important more than the pleasure of the body. Now look at the stomach. Whenever the food is eaten, what does the stomach do? It digests the food, converts food into energy, but the stomach will not say, all the energy has been created by me, so therefore all energy belongs to me. Stomach doesn't say. What does the stomach do? It immediately, for the welfare of all, whatever energy it has generated, it supplies to the whole body. See that selfless attitude there. In the same way, when a stone is thrown, immediately the hands will come to protect the head, because head is the most important part in the body. Without head, you cannot survive. Without hands, you can survive. Isn't it? So immediately the hands, like Kshatriyas, in Purusha Suktam, hands are compared with the Kshatriyas, the army. So immediately you will find the hands coming and protecting the head, because head safety is very important. Therefore the hands sacrifice itself for the welfare of the total body. Now start what you call thinking about this aspect more and more. Heart is functioning 24/7. Without any rest, the heart is functioning. Why? Because if the heart doesn't function, the body will collapse. The pranas are functioning 24/7. Everyone selflessly functioning for the welfare of the total body. There is a sacrifice also. For example, it is said that every 7 years, each and every cell is replaced by a new cell. So what does it mean? Every cell, once it has contributed to the health of the body and once it is perishing, it makes way for the new cell. See that? Right? That is why the body is functioning so well. Every part doing its own function very well, at the same time keeping the bigger picture in mind. Little dust enter into your nose. So what happens? Sneezing. Sneezing means what? The whole body comes to face that situation, an emergency situation. A thorn enters into your leg. Immediately the eyes are there, the hands are there, the mind is there, the entire attention is there. Isn't it? You see that coordination, see that rhythm, see that harmony in which the entire body is functioning. Take the same example with ourselves. There is a total cosmos, and we are all, in that macrocosm, we are all microcosm. So what is my duty with respect to macrocosm? It is the same duty. So wherever you are, perform your duties as best as you can for the welfare of all, keeping the bigger picture in mind. Perform your action selflessly, in a spirit of cooperation, not in a spirit of competition, not selfishly. If this way when you function, then you are living a dharmic life, a life of righteousness. From here comes the term dharma. What is dharma? If your action is something which is done for the good of all, then that is dharma. With good intentions, when good actions are done, then that is dharma. Anything that preserves the harmony of the cosmos is dharma. Anything that promotes peace in cosmos is dharma. So this way one has to learn to function in the society. This is summarized in the 3rd chapter of Bhagavad Gita under Karma Yoga. What is Karma Yoga? Karma should be good. Karma means action. Action should be good. And yoga, intention also should be good. Then only it becomes Karma Yoga. Karma plus yoga is Karma Yoga. Good action, good intention makes it Karma Yoga. So whenever you are performing an action, don't think, what will I get? What should be your thinking? How the others are going to get benefited, including me. How everyone is going to get benefited. Those actions alone I will perform. Actions which only benefit me, which does not benefit others, I will not perform. Actions which only benefit me and in turn harms others, I will not perform, because it is going against the spirit of dharma. You are a part of this cosmos, so therefore you have certain responsibilities as a cosmic citizen. I don't care about others. My family, that's all. Stupid number one you are. Because whatever you have taken it from the cosmos. Nothing belongs to you. Everything has been given to you. You have no right to say, I will not contribute to the society. You have no right. You have taken something from the society, so it is your responsibility to give it back. Give it much more than what you take. In this way, when you live a selfless life, such a person alone grows in spirituality. Such a person alone becomes fit to know the ultimate truth, which is called as Satchidananda, which is your own self. Others all, they degrade. The person who lives in this way, he moves faster. Not only material prosperity comes to him, he evolves spiritually also. This is the way one must learn to live life. What happens when we live selfishly? Not bothering about the totality, only bothering about one's own profit. Can such a person be happy in life? Impossible. Remember, your Sukshma Sharira, your Sthula Sharira is connected with the Sukshma Prapancha, Sthula Prapancha. You are just a part. Anything happening in your mind, remember, don't think nobody is knowing. It is a part of the total. There is a saying, every dry leaf falls with the silent notice of the tree. Every wave rises with the silent notice of the ocean. In the same way, whatever thoughts rise in you, remember, there is a totality which is aware of that. You are aware and the totality is also aware. So if a person lives a selfish life, narrow-minded life, thinking only what I will get, remember the cosmos will give the punishment, right punishment to that person. What do you do when your hand has got some wound and the infection is spreading and when the whole body is in danger? What do you do with the hand? The very same hand is amputated, cut off. Because the safety of the whole body is the primary concern. Remember, the very same hand has been served by the all body whenever it was in trouble. But the moment the whole body understands that this hand is going to create trouble for the body, what do this body do? All the other part of the body, they become one and they cut off this hand and throw it away. You getting the point? In the same way, the person who is living a selfish life, the whole cosmos come together in order to destroy him. It's a fact. But at the same time, with the reverse, if there is a person who is living a selfless life, a life of contribution, spreading peace and happiness to everyone, such a person, the very same cosmic forces, they bring him up. The whole cosmic forces come together, taking him up, gives him everything he has, whether it is material prosperity or spiritual everything. Everything comes to him unasked. You need not know all these cosmic forces. You have to just know one thing. What are the kind of intentions that are rising in your mind? What are the kind of thoughts rising in your mind? That's all what you have to take care. The rest, everything, the cosmic forces will take care. Evam pinda brahmandayoho aikyam sambhutam. Keep doing good to others, have good intentions, love others, serve others, be selfless, cooperate with others in promoting peace and harmony. You will find peace coming to you. You will find prosperity coming to you. You will find this spiritual unfoldment happening in you. Everything will happen. You need not know the cosmos. You have to know only what is happening in your own mind. You have to just take care of your thoughts, your actions. That's all. Getting the point? You need not know anything. You have to just know your own thoughts, your own actions. Ensure that your thoughts are good. Ensure that your actions are good. Enough. Your good karmas will come back to you as good karma phalas. Take away from your mind this wrong notion that corrupt people are happy in this universe. It is an absolutely wrong idea. Corrupt people can never be happy. It is your wrong notion. Remove this wrong notion, because there is all the possibility that when you get a chance to get corrupt, you also become corrupt. If this is your philosophy that corrupt people are happy in this universe. People who walk the path of truth, they suffer. People who are immoral, unjust, they enjoy life. It is absolutely wrong. It is not possible. An unhealthy limb of the body can never be happy. Can it be? Any person who is corrupt is an unhealthy part of the cosmos. How can an unhealthy part of the body be ever at peace? Impossible. It is impossible. So first of all, we must have this conviction that goodness alone can bring me peace and happiness in life. Then only we will have the daring to be good. Anyway, coming back to the topic. What is the topic? There is a oneness between Pindanda and Brahmanda. There is a oneness between microcosm and macrocosm. This is at the Anatma level. Now Bhagavan is trying to point out that at the Atma level also there is oneness. Oneness is there at the Atma level. Oneness is there at the Anatma level, between the individual and the total. So at the Anatma level, oneness has been pointed out. At the Atma level, how is this oneness? Now another topic starts. It is called Aikya Vicharaha. So Srishti Vicharaha is over. Next is Aikya Vicharaha. Adhikara Vicharaha, Vyashti Vicharaha, Samashti Vicharaha. Next is Aikya Vichara. स्थूल शरीराभिमानी जीवनामकं ब्रह्म प्रतिबिंबं भवते स एव जीवः प्रकृत्या स्वस्मात् ईश्वरं भिन्नत्वेन जानाति अविद्योपाधिः सन् आत्मा जीव इति उच्यते मायोपाधिः सन् ईश्वर इत्युच्यते एवं उपाधिभेदात् जीवेश्वर भेद दृष्टि यावत्पर्यन्तं तिष्ठते तावत्पर्यन्तं जन्म मरणादिरूप संसारः न निवर्तते तस्मात् कारणात् न जीवेश्वरयोर्भेद बुद्धिः स्वीकार्या. Yes. Now comes Aikya Vichar. Aikya Vichar means how Jiva is none other than Ishvara. Jiva and Ishvara are one and the same. This topic is taken up next. So for this, now here a term comes, Brahma Pratibimbam Bhavati. So now we have to see two very famous models which are used to point out the oneness between Jiva and Ishvara. Very famous models in all the scriptures. One is called Pratibimbavada. The other one is called Avachedavada. Pratibimbavada, Avachedavada. First we will see Pratibimbavada. So there is this bright sun shining, and there is a pot. The pot contains water, and in the water what do we see? Pratibimba of sun is seen. Correct? Reflected sunlight. So there is original sunlight, there is reflected sunlight, there is a pot, there is a water. Now what kind of reflection will come out from the water in the pot? That reflection will have all the qualities of water, correct? If the water is muddy, the reflection is muddy. If the water is dirty, the reflection is dirty. If the water is shaky, the reflection is shaky. And if the pot is small, reflection also will be small. All the qualities of the water and the pot will be seen in the reflected sunlight. Now the reflected sunlight is crying, very sad. So you go and ask that reflected sunlight, why are you sad? No, see, I am very muddy, I am very dirty, I have no stability at all, I am so agitated, I am so small. And it is natural because who is this? It is reflected light, which is nothing but light. But now this reflected light is associated with the properties of water and of the pot. Actually, this light has nothing to do with water and pot, but now the reflected sunlight feels these are all my property, because all these properties are seen in the reflected light. So now this reflected light is very sad. So what will you tell this reflected light? Oh my dear light, this muddiness is not yours. It belongs to water. This smallness, it is not yours. You are actually infinite. You are everywhere. That littleness belongs to the size of the pot. That muddiness, that dirtiness, that shakiness, everything belongs to the upadhi, the equipment. It is not yours. Naturally, the reflected light will ask, then who am I? Then what will you say? You are light. You are pure sunlight. Your existence have nothing to do with the pot. The pot will come and go, but you will remain the same, because your source is sun. Correct? And then what happens to that reflected light? That reflected light comes to know, oh, I am light. I never knew. So then what should that reflected light do in order to gain that joy and happiness? That reflected light should shift the attention from the properties of water and the pot, that muddiness, shakiness, etc., etc. That reflected light should shift the attention from the properties which it's not, and it should shift the attention to the properties which belongs to it. And what is the property of the light? Light itself is a property, correct? So this is what that reflected light should do. And what happens when that reflected light does that? It is happy. Now that reflected light knows, I am everywhere. I am not just limited in the pot. Right? Even when the pot dies, I will not die, because I depend on the original sunlight. So all the misery of the reflected light goes away. Got it? In the same way, which is the sun? Sun is Satchit Ananda Swarupa, or Atma, or Brahman. This is the original sun, original sunlight. Who is this pot? Physical body is the pot. Gross body, Sthula Shariram is the pot. And what is this water? Sukshma Sharira is the water. So Sthula Sharira carries the Sukshma Sharira, just as pot carries the water. Sukshma Sharira itself cannot exist without Sthula Sharira, just like water cannot exist without pot. What is this reflected sunlight? It is nothing but Jivatma, you and I. So now what are we experiencing? We are experiencing misery, sorrow. What is the source of all sorrows? Our identification with our body, pot. Our identification with the mind and intellect, water. Every body is finite. It has got limitations, defects, full of defects, this physical body is. Now you think all these defects belong to you. Every mind is limited, every intellect is limited. Now you think the limitations of the body and mind is yours. So what does the Sadguru come and tell you? Oh my dear, this is not you. You are original light. Meaning what? You are Satchit Ananda Swarupa. So what are you supposed to do? Withdraw your attention from what you are not. Fix your attention to what you are. Bas. This is called Pratibimba Vada. Pratibimba means reflection. Right? Now there is another model. So this is called a reflection model. Another model is called Avacheda Vada. Avacheda means limiting. So limiting model, conditioning model. So what is the example taken? The pot and the space. So there is a total space, there is a pot, and in the pot there is pot space. It's called as Ghatakasha and Mahakasha. There is a pot. Right? And now again this pot space crying and wailing. So you go and ask the pot space, my dear pot space, why are you crying? No, I am so small, I am so limited. Who told you are limited? It's very clear. Look at this. This is my boundary. So this pot space shows the boundary of the pot. I am only this much. So it shows the height of the pot. I am only this big. And if this pot dies, I am also dead. So now how will you make this pot space understand that your suffering is misplaced? So you will tell the pot space, oh my dear pot space, you don't know. It is not that you are inside the pot. Rather, pot is inside you. Correct? Pot is inside you. You are the total space. You are becoming miserable because you think you are this limited space. Your misery is natural because you have taken yourself to be limited, whereas you are unlimited. You give this understanding. And then when this pot space understands that I am the great infinite space, which is pervading everywhere. In fact, I am pervading even the pot also. Inside pot also I exist. Pot is existing in me. I am not existing in the pot. When this understanding comes, the pot space misery goes away. In the same way, what is this pot? The physical body. And what is our understanding now? I am a little being who is inside this body. If the body dies, I will also die. So what does the Sadguru come and tell you? My dear, you are not inside the body. Body is inside you. Where do you see the body? In the waking world. Where is the waking world? In yourself, in your own mind. Right? Body exists in you. You don't exist in the body. And when you have that understanding, all your fear, suffering, worry, gone. You are Sat, you are existence itself. You are Chit, you are the knowing principle, in the light of which you are knowing this body, mind, etc. And when you start focusing upon the Sat and Chit aspect, what comes? Ananda automatically comes. You don't have to create Ananda because Ananda is your nature. Right? This is called as Paricheda Vada. Pot is the Parichedaka, delimiter, conditioner. And the space is the Parichinna, the conditioned, the limited. The pot is also called as Upadhi. Upa samipe sthitva swiyan gunan anyatra adhadati iti upadhi. This is a Sanskrit definition of upadhi. The upadhi term comes here. Avidyopadhi san. So what is upadhi? Upadhi is that which, having associated with a thing, projects its property unto that thing. That is called as upadhi. Upa samipe sthitva, having come close, having associated. Swiyan gunan, one's own property. Anyatra, into that object. Adadati, projects, transfers. For example, if a red cloth is kept near a crystal, the crystal appears red. So because of the red cloth, now the crystal is red. Redness doesn't belong to the crystal, it belongs to the cloth. In the same way, now the pot has become the upadhi. Meaning what? Now the pot volume, dimension become as though the dimension of the pot space. So now what has the pot done? Pot has transferred its property to the space inside the pot. As though. Not really, as though. That is called as upadhi. Conditioning. Upadhi means conditioning. Now let us come to this verse. Sthula sharirabhimani jivanamakam brahma pratibimbam bhavati. Who is jiva? Brahma pratibimbam is jiva. What is Brahman? Sat Chit Anand. The very same Satchidanand, when it reflects in Sthula Sukshma Karana Sharira, it is called as Jiva. So Jivatma, you can put an equation, equal to Satchit Anand or pure consciousness plus Sthula Sukshma Karana Shariram. So here it is said, Sthula Sharira Abhimani is what is said here. You have to understand other two bodies also. So what is the equation? Sthula Sukshma Karana Sharira Abhimani Jivanamakam Brahma Pratibimbam Bhavati. That pure consciousness, when it gets identified with the gross body, subtle body and causal body, that pure consciousness is called Jivatma. The individual. We are all Jivatmas. So what is our definition? We are none other than infinite, immortal, supreme self, pure consciousness, but identified with Sthula Sukshma Karana Sharira. So, what is the equation? Consciousness plus Sthula Sukshma Karana Sharira equal to Jivatma. Now comes the definition of Ishvara. What is Ishvara? Same consciousness plus Sthula Sukshma Karana Prapancha is Ishvara. Got it? That very same pure consciousness identified with the total is Ishvara. Consciousness identified with the body is Jiva. Consciousness identified with the total is Ishvara. Consciousness plus Sthula Sukshma Karana Prapancha. The Prapancha also has got what you call this thing. There is a Karana Prapancha from which Sukshma Prapancha came into existence, from which Sthula Prapancha came into existence. That evolution happens there also, in totality also, just like in the individual body. So who is Ishvara? Consciousness plus Sthula Sukshma Karana Prapancha. Got it? Now that is not mentioned here, so therefore you can add. So just like Sthula Sharira Abhimani Jivanamakam Brahma Pratibimbam Bhavati, in the same way, if you want to add Ishvara definition, what will you write? Sthula Sharira Abhimani, Sthula Prapancha Abhimani. Instead of Shura Sharira, it becomes Sthula Prapancha. Sthula Prapancha Abhimani Ishvara Namakam Brahma Pratibimbam Bhavati. This is the definition of Ishvara. It is not mentioned, you can write it down. Got it? What is the next line? Saeva jivaha prakrtya swasmat ishwaram bhinnatvena janati. Now this jiva considers himself to be different from Ishvara. Now tell me, is jiva different from Ishvara or not? With respect to upadhi, there is difference. With respect to upadhi, conditioning, as far as the jiva is concerned, it is Sthula Sukshma Karana Sharira. Whereas Ishvara is identified with the totality. Sthula Sukshma Karana Prapancha. But one thing is common. What is common? Consciousness is common. Satchit Ananda is common. Correct? Now see, next line. Avidyopadhisan Atma Jiva iti uchyate. Atma plus avidya upadhi equal to jiva. Another equation. But it's the same thing. Atma means what? Satchidananda plus avidya upadhi. What are the avidya upadhi? Sthula Sukshma Karana Sharira. Why is it called avidya upadhi? It's called as avidya upadhi because everything has come from avidya only, no? Remember, I don't know myself, therefore I started seeking happiness in the outer world. Avidya, Kama, Karma, Karmaphala, Sukshma, Sthula Sharira. Remember, I had told this. What is the cause of these bodies? The cause of the body is my own ignorance about myself. I don't know who I am. I never knew that I was Satchidananda. Then, so therefore I started seeking Ananda outside. Seeking Ananda outside is kama, desire. So when I started desiring something, I started working for it. Karma came. So from kama comes karma, action. Action will give karma phala, results. And as a result, I got this sukshma and sthula sharira. So what is the root cause? Avidya. So it is also called as avidya upadhi. So what is avidya upadhi? Karana, sukshma, sthula sharira. It is avidya upadhi. So what is being said here? Avidya upadhi san atma jiva iti uchyate. So atma plus avidya upadhi equal to jiva. What is atma? Satchidananda, pure consciousness. Pure consciousness plus avidya equal to jiva. What about Ishvara? Mayopadhi san Ishvara iti uchyate. The very same atma. Now you can call it Brahman, because whenever you talk of totality, Satchit Ananda becomes, we refer to Satchit Ananda as Brahman when we refer to the totality. When we refer to the individuality, we refer it as Atma. Atma and Brahman both are same, only what you call, there's a change of name with respect to the conditioning. Individual conditioning, Atma. Total conditioning, Brahman. So therefore, what will you write? Mayopadhi san Ishvara iti uchyate. So you can write Brahman plus Maya equal to Ishvara. Brahman plus Maya equal to Ishvara. This Ishvara is also called as Saguna Brahman. You have heard of Nirguna Brahman and Saguna Brahman. Nirguna Brahman means only Brahman without the association of Maya. It's called Nirguna Brahma. When Brahman gets associated with Maya, it becomes Saguna Brahma or Ishvara. Technical term is Ishvara. So pure consciousness plus Sthula Sukshma Karana Sharira equal to Jiva. Pure consciousness plus Maya or Sthula Sukshma Karana Prapancha equal to Ishvara. Have you got it clear? Yes. Now, what is being said? Evam upadi bheda jiveshwara bheda drishtihi yavat paryantam tishtati. As long as the jiva considers himself to be separate from Ishvara. Why does jiva considers himself to be different from Ishvara? Upadi bhedat. Because conditioning is different. One is little sharira, the other is total prapancha. So there is a upadi bhedam there. There is a difference in the conditioning. Evam upadi bhedat jiva ishvara bheda drishtihi. Bheda drishti means jiva considers that I am different from God. Yavat paryantam tishtati. As long as the individual feels that he is different from God. Tavat paryantam janma maranadi rupa samsaraha na nivartate. So long this person cannot get rid of birth-death cycle. As long as the individual thinks I am different from God, he can never come out of birth-death cycle, which is called as samsara. He will again and again come back to this world, which is the cause of all miseries, sufferings. Coming back to the world means what? Again being born. Birth means pain. Right? Old age is pain. Disease is pain. Union sometimes is pain. Separation is pain. Full of pain. Full of misery. Coming back to this world means full of misery. As long as the jiva has not realized his oneness with Ishvara, this going and coming will continue. Therefore, tasmat karanat, with that reason, na jiva ishvarayoho bheda buddhihi swikarya. Therefore, this cannot be accepted that jiva is different from Ishvara. Jiva and Ishvara are one and the same. Now, naturally, the question must come. How can jiva and Ishvara be same? Now the student is asking. Now in the Hindu tradition, we have total freedom. The student can ask any kind of question to the teacher. Now the student raises objection. What is that objection? Nanu. Nanu means but. Now, this is a objection raised by the student. Now, here is a teacher who says Jiva and Ishvara are one, meaning Tat Tvam Asi, that great infinite truth you are. This is what the Guru is saying. Now the student is stunned. Here is a Guru who is saying that you are God. So immediately the student raises the objection. What is the objection? Let us chant this first. Nanu sahankarasya kinchitnyasya jivasya nirahankarasya sarvajñasya ishvarasya tattvamasi iti mahavakya katham abheda buddhi syat ubhayoho viruddha dharmakrantatvat. Nanu, immediately the student was really perturbed when he heard that Jiva and Ishvara, they are one. How is it possible? I am God. Yes. Now he raises a question. But Bhagwan, look at me. Now this is a description about the Jiva. Sahankarasya kinchitnyasya jivasya. On one side is the Jiva, full of limitation. Kinchitnyasya, his knowledge is limited. He is alpatnya. Sahankarasya, full of ego. Now other things also you can add. What all? Alpa Vyapi, Alpa Shaktiman, Alpatnya. His knowledge is little, his size is little, correct? And Maya Dasaha, a slave of Maya. What about other side? God. Oh my God. Ishvarasya. What kind of Ishvara? Nirahankarasya sarvajñasya Ishvarasya. So on one side is Alpatnya Jiva, on the other side is Sarvajña Ishvara. On one side is Alpavyapi Jiva, on the other side it is Sarvavyapi Ishvara. On one side it is Alpashaktiman Jiva, on the other side it is Sarvashaktiman Ishvara. And now you are saying Tat Tvamasi. Tat, that God, Tvam, you are, Asi. Tat Tvam Asi, that you are. Now the student is stunned. Tattvamasi iti Mahavakya. Now all such statements are called Mahavakya. Any statement which equates God with the individual is called a Mahavakya. There are a lot of Mahavakyas. Aham Brahmasmi, Tattvamasi, Prajnanam Brahma, and one more. What is that? I am Atma Brahma, Prajnanam Brahma. Yes. So there are so many such Mahavakyas. Any Vakya, any statement where Jiva and Ishvara are equated, it is called as Mahavakya. Now the student's doubt is, Katham Abheda Buddhi Syat. How is it possible that there is Abheda Buddhi? Abheda Buddhi means what you call? Abheda means non-difference. Lack of oneness. Bheda means lack of oneness. Abheda means oneness. How is it possible that Jiva is one with Ishvara? Why? Ubhayoho viruddha dharma akrantatvat. Both have got different properties altogether. Totally opposite properties. How can you equate Jiva with Ishvara? One side, Alpashaktiman, Alpavyapi, Alpatnya, Jiva. Other side, Sarvavyapi, Sarvashaktiman, Sarvajña Ishvara. How can you equate? Viruddha dharma akrantatvat. What does Bhagavan say? Iti chet. If this is your question, na. No. How it is no, we will see tomorrow. How Ishvara and Jiva, they are one. So this is called as what you call Aikya Vichar. How to know our oneness with God. How they are one and the same. This is the topic which we will discuss tomorrow. Om Sarve Bhavantu Sukhinah Sarve Santu Niramayah Sarve Bhadrani Pashyantu Ma Kaschit Dukkha Bhag Bhavet Asato Ma Sadgamaya Tamaso Ma Jyotirgamaya Mrityorma Amritam Gamaya Om Shanti 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 Hari Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha Harihi Om.